Hey there, I'm Steve, and welcome to Jamsinentertainment. I'm joined again by my friend Austin. We're going to be talking about superheroes. You may notice that the thumbnail says Super Nerds, and it's spelled Knurds. This is two things. I'm shouting out to a podcast that Mike was on. That was a live stream like last week or so. And I should learn their names, I'm sorry, but I don't remember their names. The host of Drunk Nerds, you can find them on Spotify, told the audience and his guest that nerds, as we know them, the NERDS, originated from colleges in the 70s or so, where the drunk jocks would call the bookworms and stuff nerds, which is drunk backwards. So this is a shout out to them, and I would like to take back KNURDS. How's it going, Austin?
Good, how are you?
I'm all right. Who was the first superhero you fell in love with?
I'm going to have to say Spider-Man, because I first ran into him in Saturday morning cartoons. I love the freedom he had. Like, yeah, he's literally the most relatable to any child, any teenager. And over time they've made him younger and younger to get closer to that. But I kind of related to him because when I saw him, he was like, he's dealing with all this stuff in his life, but he's still trying to do the right thing, you know? And of course, the powers, duh. So yeah, that was my favorite way back when.
Mine was Batman. Batman way before Saturday morning, before I grasped the concept of Saturday morning cartoons. I was 4 years old when the Michael Keaton movie came out.
Ah.
And I don't know what movie I was going to see, but it was a trailer for a movie, and I just remember this distinctly. Some other kid in the audience said, "I love Batman," and 4-year-old me was like, "No, you can't. I'm the only one who can love Batman." I don't know why. That's my first memory of loving Batman. I think because I watched some of the Adam West before the movie came out, because that was like a rerun back then. Still is, probably on some television. But yes, Batman, starting with Adam West to Michael Keaton to my favorite Batman, Kevin Conroy. And he, to me, is the definitive Batman. And now he's done both. Not only done the voice, but he's actually, well, okay, he's Bruce Wayne, but he's been Batman in the crossovers for the Flash, Wonder Woman, and Arrow series.
That was Crisis, I believe.
Yes. That was that TV series take on Crisis Infinite Earth or something like that. One of the big comic stories for DC.
And actually, that's the first time that I know of where a series starts pulling members from various movies in the DC universe as well. Like, as you said, we had Kevin Conroy, but we also had Robin from the original Batman.
Burt Ward, I think his name is.
Yes.
They also got who is the Atom? Who's the actor? I can't remember his name. I want to say it's Brandon something.
Adam?
The Atom in the CW DC series.
I see where you're going.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't remember his name. He played Superman in Superman Returns, which was supposedly, from what I understand, the ending movie to finish off the Christopher Reeve series. He played that character at one point. It was a standalone, basically. He didn't come back for a return. They brought the character back for Crisis. What's interesting is that the actor was already playing another character in that series of serials. So now he's playing the Atom, which is like a guy who can really shrink to a tiny little size, a DC version of Ant-Man. And he can also get big, too. So, yeah, pretty much. And now he's playing Superman. Except this Superman has aged. Time has gone. He's got the white sideburns and everything. It was really nice to see an older version of Superman and him to play it.
I think that's the only episode I watched. The one with Kevin Conroy and the Superman Returns actor, because it also has the actor who played Kal-El / Clark Kent in Smallville.
Yes.
I don't know why they didn't get him to play Superman for these new TV series, because I did not like the choice they went with for these new TV series. He looks the Superman that's in the normal timeline. I mean, of course, I haven't seen everything, but this is just my one take on the one episode. The Superman they got for TV that they normally use, he looks too wimpy in my opinion. And the guy who originally played Kal-El / Clark in Smallville, when they brought him back in for this, it was like, that's Superman. Why the hell didn't they get him to play Superman for this TV series?
Okay.
He's more Superman than Brandon was, even though Brandon kind of looks like Christopher Reeves, kind of like a smaller Christopher Reeves. But yeah,
what I'm gonna say, I have absolutely done no research on, so this is totally speculation and me guessing based on what I know about production and what I know about the choices that they make near the end of these series. Is like, I suspect that the actor was done after Smallville. He didn't want to do it. So there is a possibility that they tried to bring him back. There is a possibility that they didn't. But when they brought him back in this one, there is a strong feeling of he didn't want to play any extra stuff. He just wanted to be on the ground, You don't want to do the wire work. You don't want to do any of the X work. You don't want to wear the suit. I get it. Fine. We'll just bring you in as Clark Kent. And they took the powers, too. That was a kicker for me. Like they spun it in a beautiful way where all he wanted to do was live a life with Lois Lane, just a normal.
It was also funny too, because Lex Luthor from that timeline comes back. They have their little back and forth, and then Clark hits him and says, "I'm still stronger than you."
Damn straight. I don't need power to punch you in the face.
All right, so from Spider-Man, how did your love for superheroes in general grow?
So, it's the 90s, various shows. We got the Justice League, we got Batman, we got Superman. They got their own shows. I was watching those like crazy. I got to see a lot of Green Lantern. There's a lot of DC stuff on WB. Only later after that, like when Marvel started like showing their stuff, not the 80s stuff, not the 60s stuff. Oh my god, no. The recent stuff. Like Iron Man, for example, was, I think, my most biggest introduction into the Marvel series. Like, really woke me up to the amount of characters that there are out there, because I started doing research. Like, okay, there's this Iron Man, there's this Hulk, I looked up some stuff.
What about X-Men?
Oh god, X-Men. I didn't even know X-Men was Marvel. Like, I do now. But way back when, it was DC, Marvel, X-Men. That was
I can see how like kid you could come to that conclusion.
Right, because we don't have but we weren't allowed to do certain things like look things up, or we didn't have the
resources.
Resources, yes, that's the word. I definitely grew up with that cartoon X-Men where Xavier sounded like a kind of shit instead of like being a full-blown voice. But yeah, that was some epic stuff.
But I kind of get what you mean by Iron Man broadening your
broadening my horizon on Marvel.
Yes. Aside from X-Men and the Spider-Man movies, my first one that really hooked me on Marvel was the first Avengers movie. I didn't see any Avengers movie before that.
So you didn't see Iron Man, you didn't see Hulk, you didn't see you didn't see Captain America.
No.
Okay.
I was just a DC guy. Yeah, I mean, I liked the X-Men movie, I liked the Spider-Man movie, but when I was working at another retailer, my friend said, "You got to watch Avengers." It's like, yeah, but it's not DC. He's like, just go watch Avengers. And I watched it, and I've been hooked ever since. And now Captain America is my favorite from Marvel. But my favorite movie that's come out so far is Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah. And yeah, that's the one that they did the least. I'm sorry, they did the most figuring stuff out on set.
You mean the practical effects and stuff?
No, I mean the script.
Oh, most improv, yeah.
Yeah. And it was epic because of it.
Well, that movie was like a perfect storm because you had like the right actors, the right director.
What's beautiful about improv is that it allows the actors to really shine through, not just read a script and time it right, but actually come up with some good content. That whole thing with like where he took Loki and literally threw him at the people. Granted, that wasn't figured out on set because they needed the rigging to actually have Loki up in the air flying towards them. But, you know, several, like, they have these readings. Before they do anything, they all have this sit down with a bunch of couches around. It's not just Star Wars that does it. It's several people that do it. It doesn't matter the venue. They all sit down and they read through the script and they start discussing. They try to come up with more ideas. This isn't the writers, though. It's just like we have the writers, some writers over here who brought the script in, and then we've got the actors and actresses. They're reading through the script. They're learning what they're seeing. And through that, they came up with so much more content and joke-wise stuff to make it funny, to progress it, you know. And now we have what we have.
It's definitely the funniest one outside of the Guardian movies. Guardian movies are pretty funny.
Guardian movies were the experimentation to see how funny we could get.
Yeah, and we can see how that experiment fails when DC tries to copy it.
Yeah. They're missing the stuff that they're not seeing. Like, you see the movie, but then you have to look at the design of the movie. You have to look at, again, timing. They're not looking at these things.
Well, now they're doing a better job. Now they're doing more their own thing instead of being, ooh, we see that works, so we're going to do that. So exactly. I'm glad they're actually doing their own thing now.
Give me an example of how they are doing their own thing. Earliest.
Well, Birds of Prey, for one.
There we go.
Yeah, that's a great movie. I love that movie. I wish Suicide Squad was more like Birds of Prey. It would have been cooler if the Joker was the main antagonist in Birds of Prey. Black Mass is pretty cool, and I love Ewan McGregor. He did a great job.
He did
one of his most comedic roles.
It's his most emotional.
Yeah. I think the only reason why they didn't go with Jared Leto because I guess as a whole the fans didn't really like him, even though there's not a whole lot to base an opinion on his Joker. In my opinion, there's not a whole lot to make an opinion about his Joker. I needed more. I didn't see the extended cut of Suicide Squad, so maybe that's where the opinion of he's not a good Joker's coming from. I don't know.
The laugh alone.
The what?
Okay, so every Joker out there has made their own laugh, basically.
Right. Oh, the laugh alone. Okay. Yeah.
He method acted that way too hard.
Well, he method acted the entire thing too hard. Well, of course, you could argue that Heath Ledger did the same thing, but his version worked.
Yeah.
Because
he did homework.
Yes, he locked himself in. I'm not sure if it's his room or a hotel room, but he locked himself in a room for about 6 weeks with whatever he needed to make that character. And unfortunately, that's one of the reasons why he's no longer with us, or at least that's the speculation. He went down to such a dark place. He just overdosed on whatever whatever it was. He's still not my favorite Joker. I think I'm one of the very few outliers for that. Mark Hamill is always going to be the Joker to me. The only person I say that can take his place after him is Troy Baker, because in the first animated Suicide Squad movie, Troy Baker's a Joker. But I didn't pick up on that, and neither did my brother at the time. We both thought it was Mark Hamill. Since we're on the topic of the Joker, who's your favorite Joker?
Mark Hamill.
Yeah? I thought it was Heath Ledger.
Mark Hamill covers cartoon. The original shit that we all appreciate. Isn't
right?
Like, okay, before the cartoon, we had plenty of other Jokers, I guess, like maybe one or two.
We had Cesar Romero and Jack Nicholson.
Right. Didn't have much to work on beyond that. What they did in the cartoon was they completely fleshed him out. This is why I like it. This is why I consider this the original, because this is where we have the most of who he is. And then with Heath Ledger, I feel like that is the most realistic version of the Joker in our world that we could possibly get. So he is my second favorite.
Well, I would argue that Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, Arthur Fleck, is equally realistic. He's just a different kind of Joker.
He's the Joker without all the previous Jokers inside. I'd say too realistic? Because when I say realistic, I'm saying we're taking everything that the Joker's done in the past, in comics, in movies, in series, and we're applying that to our world. Him still being able to do all that. I believe the most that I can remember Joaquin Phoenix doing is just shooting a guy.
When he does more than that. Watch the movie again. It's definitely worth watching the movie again.
Like it I don't want to a lot on his mental.
Right. And
there was not as much mayhem as I was expecting in the movie. It was all about what's going on up here.
Yeah, it's a psychological look at the Joker, and one of the things I love about that movie is you're not sure how much of it is real versus how much is in his head.
Right.
I mean, you can kind of figure it out.
They show you that the girlfriend isn't actually the girlfriend.
But the ending makes you think that, or could give you the conclusion that it was all in his head.
Yeah.
Because it ends up with him just in the mental institution talking to a counselor, and the entire thing he just could have made up. And so when he's laughing and he says you wouldn't get the joke, is it the joke that he just made up an entire elaborate backstory for himself? Or is it the joke that because of him, this is my take on it, because of him, a movement was formed and Bruce Wayne's parents were killed. And he thinks that this is the Joker's one main thing throughout everything. It just takes one bad day. And maybe his joke is this happened to this kid that had the future for him, nothing but good stuff. And now he'll become like the Joker because of this one bad day. But we know that doesn't happen. But I think that's the joke he's thinking of. Not the fact that these parents just got killed, but that Bruce Wayne could become the next Joker because of this one bad day.
Makes sense. I can't argue with that. Like, I like your first idea where, like, he could have just made this all up in his head. And this could be the actual Joker, the cartoon version, like, for example, just in his infancy. And you know how, like, the Joker lies. The Joker has a lot of backstories. And we're not entirely sure which one's the most accurate, so we read them all.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact quote from the comic, The Killing Joke, but I know part of the quote is what about his backstory. The Joker prefers multiple choice. Mm-hmm. So that's why when you're watching The Dark Knight, Heath Ledger's Joker is constantly given a different story.
Yeah.
And just like how Joaquin's is, like the way it's shot, it's fragmented. You don't know what's real, you don't know what's not. And across the mediums, you see that with the Joker. There's no figuring him out.
Gotham's version of Joker, the three we had. I know you haven't seen this.
I know very little.
Okay, so what from my experience, the kid playing him is extremely close to Jack Nicholson's, especially in Laugh. Oh my God, it's eerie. But we see so many iterations. This kid had the origin story of being from the circus, and his mom was a whore, a slut to the whole band, and he didn't like that, so he offed her. He was a little mentally ill already. He did no batch of chemicals or anything. He's just mentally ill. He dies eventually, and then is brought back to life, missing his face.
Doesn't he have a twin?
Yes, he does have a twin, and the twin is actually quite smart, quite respectable, and normal. Just brilliant. Yeah, normal, living under a rock.
Normal.
Air quotes normal, because he's living under a rock, He's secluded from the rest of the world, but he has the internet, so he's educates himself. He's incredibly intelligent. He's like Sherlock Holmes.
Or more like Moriarty, because he's the villain, Moriarty.
Well, at first, no. This brother of his is just trying to stay out of everything. And then the Joker gets a hold of him after the Joker dies. The Joker has henchmen and everything. Well, if the Joker died, he had given his henchmen some instructions and stuff. And that involves stealing his brother, giving him a chemical, and then injecting him with some serum and stuff that would eventually turn him into the new Joker, except it's much closer to... Who was the one that method acted like crazy?
Jared Leto.
He was closer to Jared Leto than anything else.
Okay, so there's 3 method actor Jokers. You have Heath Ledger, Jared Leto, and Joaquin Phoenix. Jared Leto is the one with the tattoos. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, Jared Leto then.
No, is he the gang? No, he's the...
Jared Leto's also the gangster.
Yeah, but he was closer to the... Oh, hell. I'll look it up later.
So, I said... I can't remember if I told you, but I've always said that you could get... oh, God, what's his name? Tom Hiddleston, yes. Tom Hiddleston to play the Joker.
I'd like that.
The argument is that he's already played the Joker, known as Loki. And take a look at Tom Hiddleston. He has the build for the Joker. He's tall. He's lanky. He has, the facial structure. He's the Joker.
Change up Loki to look like the Joker. We could make that look good.
There's probably somewhere out there. Someone probably did it out there on the net. So I've always speculated that. But other great villains, because we've been going on and on about the Joker. Lex Luthor, especially the animated series one.
I like the animated series one. He's actually, he looks like The Rock, honestly.
I see what you're talking about. He looks more like Mr. Clean.
Yeah. But darker skin than what you would expect. I'm going with Momoan or something like that.
I don't know why they went with Jesse Eisenberg. He was a horrible choice. Yep. I'm sure if his lines were done, if it was acted out like the Lex Luthor from the animated series, who was played by Clancy Brown, I think it could have worked. But aside with a mixture of whatever direction Zack Snyder gave him and Jesse Eisenberg brought to the role, I don't like that combination.
No. Although, even though he was a little sniveling rat, basically, the power behind his words was scary.
Yes, but imagine them being said by someone that's more cold
more
and methodical.
Then it's more like law. Like imagine his lines Brown telling you you're going to die in one day.
I've heard other people on the net say that the guy who played Lex Luthor in Smallville would have been a really good choice for the movies.
I agree. He was basically the realistic version of Clancy Brown's cartoon version.
I might have to check Smallville out at some point. I only didn't watch it because I want to see Superman instead of Superboy / Clark Kent growing up. That's one of the reasons why I never got into Gotham, because I want to see Batman. I don't want to see Batboy or Bruce Wayne.
The funny thing is that I don't think he ever wore a cape or a suit in Smallville.
And to my knowledge, he does not.
Very late.
I don't think that was ever the goal.
Instead, he wore clothing, regular clothing, farm clothing that matched the colors.
I don't think it was ever the goal for that Clark Kent / Kal-El to wear the suit in that series.
No, it wasn't. In fact, he never really could fly either until very, very, very late.
Where he could just leap tall buildings in a single bound, basically.
Well, keep in mind you're out in farmland area, so no tall buildings to leap over, but plenty of space to leap around. Plenty of space to run fast. So we're dealing with Flash kind of stuff, almost, except Flash with super strength, invulnerability. He deals with a lot of weird shit at home. And at one point we get the Justice League, just younger.
What, in TV, or are you talking about?
In Smallville. I've been only talking about Smallville this whole time.
Oh, huh. Yeah, I might give Smallville a watch. I know it's the last time you see Christopher Reeve probably acting anything.
Yes, as well as the guy who plays Cyborg. To pay attention to him, he lived young and died young.
That reminds me.
You
It's a
remember
movie.
the famous Jet Jackson?
Jet Jackson.
Yeah, it's literally called the series is literally called The Famous Jet Jackson.
Not familiar.
It was Disney. Anyway, it was a brilliant series. The kid was brilliant, and he had a lot of darkness that he was dealing with, which eventually led to him committing suicide. But that was like in his 20s when he did that. So he completed a lot of stuff. He even was in I believe a cop show of some sort. But his version of Cyborg was epic.
What I wanted to talk about, but I had to look up because I want to get the name of the movie. You ever hear of Hollywoodland?
No.
Hollywoodland is the story of George Reeves, the first TV. I'm not sure if there was an actor or a movie before the TV series, but he's the first TV Superman. And Hollywoodland is about him coping with that fame and his eventual death. George Reeves actually didn't really like being Superman because he got typecasted, and back in the day, being typecasted wasn't a good thing because he couldn't get other roles then. Ben Affleck plays George Reeves in that movie, and it's kind of what gave me hope that he would be a good Bruce Wayne / Batman for the DC movies now. And it is really well done. My favorite scene, he's at a kid's birthday party. He's Superman, and this kid comes out with his dad's gun, and he wants to shoot Superman because he wants to see the bullet bounce off of him. Well, George Reeves very heroically talks the kid out of it, but by being Superman and rationalizing with him, you're like, yeah, it'll bounce off me, but it could hit someone, it could ricochet into someone else, and we don't want that. It's a really great scene. I really recommend that movie. You go watch it.
Yeah, I'm interested. I want to check that out.
Other villains. So I don't know if they're going to get to Darkseid in the new DC movies. Kind of in limbo right now. It looks like they're going to go the route of independent movies because they already have Joker and they have Birds of Prey. Shazam, I still need to see Shazam, but to my knowledge, that's standalone. I mean, it could possibly be woven in. I don't know. But Darkseid is the big bad for DC, or at least one of the many big bads. And he's basically the Thanos of DC. I really would like to see that. And I really would like to get Michael Ironside to reprise the role because he played Darkseid, at least in the Superman animated series.
Ah. And in this case, it would be a more than likely CG animated Darkseid in a live action movie.
Right, yeah, what they did with Thanos.
Right. So having him reprise the role voice-wise would be perfect.
But where do you think they're going to go with the DC movies now? Do you think they're going to do independent films, or do you think they're going to get back to the storyline that they started?
They tried to do what Marvel did and failed.
It doesn't mean they can't get back onto it and still put out a good product. I mean, the Snyder cut of Justice League is coming out, I think, beginning of next year.
Which we need to see, because I want to see what he expected compared to what they expected.
Yeah. But what we got was probably closer to 60%. Well, okay, maybe 50-50 Snyder and Whedon was what we got theatrically. I think there's an extended cut of that on Blu-ray. I'm not sure. But I do like the Justice League movie, probably because Whedon picked it up and Whedonized it. But I would be interested in seeing the Snyder cut, especially if you watch the director's cut of Batman v Superman and then Justice League, which makes me wonder, kind of segue. Theaters are opening back up. I think the middle of next month or something like that.
That's wonderful.
So I wonder if we're going to get to see Black Widow and Wonder Woman 84 in theaters. That'd be really nice.
That would be.
Because Black Widow should have, by now, it would have been out and gone. I think Wonder Woman was either out this month or next month. But with COVID, everything's going to be pushed back, so I don't know.
Yeah, everything has been pushed back. There were a lot of people thinking that this would be the death of movie theaters to get all together.
Yeah, that's my fear.
That was not the case. Since they're opening back up, there's the opportunity for people to go, and there are people that want to go.
Lately, AMC's been notifying me. It's like, oh, we're opening up again. But before that, they were like, we have some movies, $3 movie rentals, which I'm not sure if that, I don't know if they're going to come out with their own app or if I just have to use my phone and get an adapter to play through my TV because I refuse to watch anything besides YouTube on my phone. So that would be interesting. I could probably catch up on some movies that were supposed to come out, but they were just too damn expensive to rent on. Well, I know Prime was renting them, but too damn expensive to rent there. I think some of them went to Netflix. Yeah, but $20 for a movie rental is ridiculous. Even when movie rentals was still a thing, $20 wasn't. I think maybe $10 was the most a movie rental ever got, to my knowledge.
Sounds about right. Now, if you're spending $20, that's not a rental, that's a buy.
I'm pretty sure, of course it's been a couple months, but when I was on Prime, I wanted to see the Vin Diesel Bloodshot movie. I'm pretty sure it said rental next to the price.
Digitally, rentals should be no more than $4.
Right. So Spider-Man is still your favorite? Because I know you're a huge Green Arrow fan.
I am.
Is it kind of like your favorite for Marvel is Spider-Man, your favorite for DC is Green Lantern. I'm sorry, Green Lantern.
I like them both. See, the Green Arrow in the current live-action series, I can relate to. And then Green Lantern in cartoon series, I love the abilities that he has. I like the freedom that he has. But, there's a lot of responsibility to the entire galaxy as a sector. So, they're covering the whole universe. So that's a lot. But, yeah, Green Lantern.
How'd you get into Green Lantern?
DC's Justice League cartoon series.
And is it because green's your favorite color or because of how the character was portrayed and all that? Or a mix?
The fact that Green Lantern is green, that's just a bonus. The character development I really appreciate. Now with Marvel, it's Spider-Man, Iron Man, and Doctor Strange. I have a huge love for technology. Obviously, Spider-Man is just like my favorite hero when I was a kid, so that never really drops off. You'll always have your favorite. But Iron Man is my technology fave, and Doctor Strange is the one who handles the magic. So I like those things in movies and books and anything. It's great for story.
My Marvel-wise, anyway, is Captain America, then Rocket Raccoon, and Thor.
Why?
Why? Captain America, I don't know, he's just like the embodiment of the ideal mortal man. I mean, granted, he has super strength and speed and stuff like that, but to me, he's the embodiment of the ideal mortal man.
In terms of morals?
Yeah, morals.
He does the right thing no matter what.
No matter what. That's why Civil War is. That's my second favorite film for Marvel, Civil War, because he's willing to do the right thing no matter what. He's not willing to sacrifice one thing just so it can be a little, quote, safer, which was the argument in Winter Soldier and Civil War. And Tony's continual argument until the end of that arc, which was handled very well.
Yeah.
Has there been a point in time where superheroes have helped you out in life, where they've helped you figure something out, or have lifted your spirit, something like that?
Superheroes will always be an influential part of everyone's life. It's they are not just there to entertain. They are there to guide, to teach you morals, to basically use story to educate you to be a better person. So I think we all have learned some way in a better way, or learned from these stories that have helped us shape how we make our decisions for the better.
But nothing personal for you?
No.
All right, so just in general. Batman has been a huge influence on me. So a lot of people, mostly nerds, I was picked on as a kid, and I didn't know how to handle that. And of course, I went to my parents and asked them about it, and my mom told me, don't let them notice it's bothering you. Basically, don't show your emotions. And as a kid, I took that too far because I think at the time it was too abstract of an idea. And so, the closest person I knew that didn't let themselves get bothered by what other people thought or how they reacted and kept it cool, calm, and collected was Batman. And even still now, to an extent, I have what I call Batman mode. And I basically just kind of go into autopilot and just the bare minimum to get the point across or to get through whatever I'm getting through. So then I can go and reflect and come out better. Thank you for joining me, Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like to be found on social media? I think you mentioned before that you wouldn't mind people looking you up on DeviantArt.
DeviantArt is my platform for my art. It's not all there, but most of it is. So it's it's aranu1.deviantart.com.
So now, after this podcast, you can find Jamsin Podcast on Spotify now, along with Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Podbean, and of course, YouTube. So if you like what you saw, like it. If you think other people will like it, share it. If you really liked it, hit the subscribe button or follow us on any of your podcasting platforms. Thank you for watching and listening, and live your imagination.